Even with Gareth Bale banging in their fastest ever Champions League goal, Real Madrid made hard work of a game that they really should have put beyond doubt early on. Playing against Warsaw, they had no fans. This was played behind closed doors after their crowd trouble in their last match, as well as being fined €80,000. Real Madrid just did not look comfortable, and I would be lying if I said this wasn't something that I've noticed throughout their Champions League performances so far. Whilst they're fine, nothing's going to fall apart. They'll still make it through the group stage. You just have to say that this Real Madrid team are struggling to really shore up games. Now, this was reminiscent of their earlier performances against Sporting Lisbon. They're, of course, made hard work of and relied on last-minute goals, drawn against Borussia Dortmund. And then in this game, they threw away a 2-goal lead against a team sitting 6th in the Polish league. Even with some players missing, like no Ramos, no Pepe, they played no Marcelo, they Contrao coming back in. They still should be removing of a team like this, no problem. But I said it is a marathon, not a sprint. I think several times we've seen teams stumble across the line and then really start to pick up form later in the tournament. So positives for Real Madrid. Bale scored a beautiful finish early on, their fastest goal, but Warsaw really did not lay down without a fight. And this is a team that did not have the backing of their home crowd. That, of course, is going to help any team, especially against a team that has so much more superior talent than you. So I think you got to give them a pat on the back. They basically grinded out a result, got themselves a point. Some things to worry about for Real Madrid is that when they were trying to defend the counter-attack, Warsaw looked like they could have scored on several different occasions. Now, that being said, Real Madrid themselves looked like they could score. They had to rely on a Kovacevic last-ish minute goal to try and salvage it, and then they smacked the bar later on. But Real Madrid are making it a lot harder for themselves than what we would like to imagine. But as I will remind you, this has happened so many times in the Champions League and in other major aspects of football. Teams that still get the result. I mean, you could look at it as 2 points dropped, or you could look at it as a point gained. In this group, Real Madrid are still going to go through comfortably. Borussia Dortmund are still going to go through. So I don't think that it's anything to panic about. I'm just sure Real Madrid fans would be expecting them to deal with this game the way that Dortmund dealt with Warsaw, banging in several goals to discard of them. So, and one team that, as always, are going to find their way into my clip and deserve the credit, the mighty Leicester City. Leicester City have still not conceded a Champions League goal. Now, on paper, a draw. It's not always perfect for any team, but it's a draw that guarantees them Champions League football. Leicester City now not conceding. They've discarded their opponents and they drew with Copenhagen, but they are in fantastic stead going forward in the Champions League. And this is something that many people wouldn't have expected, seeing how poor their form is in the Premier League, which again showcases that the Champions League is separate. It's a different competition. Teams on countless occasions have showcased their talent in the Champions League whilst they've been struggling with their own domestic form. And Leicester City, who is not going to back Leicester? Who's going to bet against the underdogs of all underdogs as they continuously prove they can mix it with the big guns? Now, before I give you a brief breakdown of the rest of the scores, a team that I was only watching out the side of my eye, and even this side of my eye, it was painful to watch. I couldn't focus on all the games, but Tottenham Hotspur, for me, failed to create a clear-cut chance in a game that was a home game. I know it was played in Wembley. And their chances of even cementing a possibility of going through to the knockouts or even a Europa League took a massive hit. Again, losing out to Bayer Leverkusen. Leverkusen are a good team. That's something that's clear and obvious. But Tottenham Hotspur's performance now, they've yet to win in 5 games. They're really struggling. And they just didn't look like they believed that they could bang in a goal. And this is so contrary to Tottenham last season. Even in games where they weren't playing their best, they still looked like they could grind that result. They still looked like they could get something from the game. Lacking in confidence, Pochettino really had some work to do there. In Tottenham, it's not looking good for Spurs, especially with the game coming up against Arsenal. And the rest of the results coming up here as Jason throws in a nice transition. Monaco winning 3-0. Borussia Dortmund taking care of business against Sporting 1-0. Juventus tying it up with Lyon. And as I mentioned there, Copenhagen 0-0 with Leicester City. The mighty Sevilla discarding Dynamo Zagreb 4-0 and Porto winning 1-0. And check out yesterday's clip as I cry myself to sleep for Celtic dropping the ball at an opportunity to get back into contention and discuss Manchester City, all that good stuff. Francis_Maxwell on Twitter. Francis Maxwell host. Speak to you guys soon.